Hello, I'm Vlad, and I'm glad to talk about International Chemistry Olympiad problem solving. And we have here a slide in Estonian, which basically tells us that we should start with looking through the problems, and we will definitely spend some time on reading. Looking through will take about 10 minutes, and during that stage, you will understand how many problems, which kind of problems, what are your favorite problems. Then you would need to read all the problems, and that is just time consuming. Of course, you can train your functional reading skills, and still, when you are reading, you need some time to understand the problem, like loading them into your mind. That is called here mõistmine, so it's understanding. During that stage, you will also kind of select what chemistry basis you need to solve the problem. That is knowledge. What knowledge do you need? And after that, you will probably spend more than an hour for solving the problems. And here you will apply your solving skills. After that, in order just to write your answer into the answer sheets, you will consume at least 30 minutes because that's a mechanical step. You need to write with your pen. And of course, that depends on how well are you trained to write with your pencil and whether the pencil is suitable or not. Then after that, ideally, you would spend 1 hour on just controlling. And here you need to apply all your focus, all your attention, just to find out small mistakes, possibly some misconceptions, misunderstandings, like you have solved the problem, but then at some stage you understood that it is organic chemistry and probably the product is something different from what you expected from the first glance. On the right, you have something that you will take with you. There would be a calculator provided by the IChO organizers, but you can choose the pen that you like. So try different pens while you're training at home and find the suitable one. And then take several, buy the same pen but many replicas so that even if one runs out, you can take another one. I suggest you take also the ruler. And there are some rulers which allows you to write the formulas. We've been training that with other students, and sometimes for them it's easier to write by hand, but some will find that it's also pretty cool to have those chemical formulas inside. And by the way, let me remind you, when you get the calculator from the IChO organizers, spend some time on playing with that. Just solve through paper problems, type in the numbers, get the right answer, so that you get used. Because I remember that even with the calculator that students spent years with, they could just misprint something and they forgot to put a dot or press a different number, or for some reason the number is not pressed at all. So you train with that and check what are the options. Maybe this calculator can solve quadratic equations and you don't need to spend time on that. Then you can just program it in, type in all the numbers and get the answer. And what I suggest, taking some markers. I hope it's not really prohibited. What is prohibited is using some pens which can be erased, and I guess that you cannot write your answers with a pencil, but at least with those markers you can highlight most important keywords in your text, and that will ease your reading. Now we can take some set of problems like this one. I love this year, 2016 in Tbilisi, Georgia. And here we have. So imagine you get an envelope with all the problems, you open it, and you, first of all, you need to sort all the stuff. What I suggest is if they are somehow connected, you just break it, separate all the sheets, and sort it according to the problems. And you do it mechanically in parallel. I mean, you can do the pre-screening of the problems, and at the same time, you are sorting out the papers. Let's see what we have here. What we will notice first is that we have this introduction, which states that there are at least 25 pages in the booklet and also 29 pages with answer sheets. You can imagine already that it will take a lot of time to write everything. Oh, now I note that you can only use the pen and calculator provided. And I hope that the pen will be also provided before the exam so you can train it, but please don't use it till the end, so you must have some ink inside. Good. Well, you will understand that this instruction comes every year with just little changes. So please go through previous sets and read those instructions. They will be more or less the same, and you should just be aware what is written here, because that is kind of important rules. For example, if you would like to go to the restroom, you just raise your hand. Don't raise your leg or everything else, raise your hand, as written here. And not to waste time on reading this rule during the exam, you just read them at home now. So we will also skip that and we'll go to the problems, because I assume that you already know that and you can separate the constants and formula so that they will be aside at any time when they are needed. Now we go to problem number 1. Should we start reading that? No, we should go through the whole set. Now I'm trying to change the pages, and no, it doesn't work. Maybe in the presentation work. It doesn't work. Let's just scroll through all the pages. We have problem 2, problem 3. What I really like about IChOs are that the problem is already separated from the answer sheets. Sometimes at our national we have mixed them together, so they are really difficult to comprehend, like to separate. But you have now only the problems which are separate, so they do not take more than 3-4 pages each problem, and then another comes. Just while screening, you can already understand that we have the 6th problem, organics. That's very clear, and you can also understand what kind of organic it is. Then later you go to problem number 8. That's kind of biochemistry. You know, you are loading this information into your brain and you will be able to proceed it in the background. You don't need to focus on that so much. And here we have the answer sheets. Great. As you can see, this part here is not for you. That is for the those who will be grading you. So you don't need to write here. But you have the answers. Well, we will continue with the answer sheets, but first let me stress something. So we just scrolled through all the problems and we understood that there are 8 problems. Number 8 is organic chemistry or biochemistry, 7 and 6 is organic chemistry, number 5 is ABC type inorganic chemistry, and number 4 is kinetics. Is it? Yes, it is. And number 3 is some kind of analytical chemistry with electrochemistry inside, and we have thermodynamics with some crystallography, and we also have something which is general chemistry. Now, what I suggest you to do, first of all, on the very first page, where you have some space, here we are, you create a table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 problems. You can even write that this is organic, bio, and now I don't remember. This was general, thermo, then it was analytical, and then kinetics and anorganic. So you have on the very first page a representation of all the sets. Well, you don't need to hurry up like I'm doing right here. You can write it so clearly that you can read that. But also, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you have one page where you have an overview of all your progress. So you can now start solving, and let's say that general is pretty easy, and I would suggest that maybe you start with that. So let's say that you are solving it, and you understand that you solved almost everything except for point, I don't know how they are marked, but because E probably is not solved. So you have a mark here that this is something that you leave behind, and maybe you would like to check point F later. Okay. The same you do with thermodynamic, analytical, kinetic, but you know, those are kind of mechanical because you know there is a specific algorithm for solving them. What will take time is anorganic chemistry, and that was a brilliant problem because it gives you everything. It is basically the general course and some basic school knowledge you would have definitely calcium carbonate, and you understand that's about CO2, but it's not so easy to solve it because you cannot prove that it is CO2 there unless you do the calculation perfectly. So this kind of puzzle problem ABC, and you would spend a lot of time. So what I suggest you read this problem as your second option. So let me just write here that's first, and then you choose this one as a second, but don't try to solve it as don't get the final answer here. Just load it into your brain, and then do the same with organic chemistry if it's kind of puzzle problem where you need to solve it in the in it doesn't have to be active mode. You can think about it while you're solving all other mechanical problems. That's what I mean. So this is kind of qualitative problem, and this is also semi-qualitative. Of course, you do need to calculate some numbers, but what you should get there is the key to the answer. So there is an organic chemistry scheme, and you somehow need to decide whether there is a gas which could be O2, CO2, NO2, and any other gas, and you kind of, in the background of your thinking, you will be checking all of them while you are solving the other problems. And if you don't understand what I'm talking, I suggest you take the course Learning How to Learn at the Coursera. If you do, well, this is really easy. There are just two ways of thinking. One is fast and concentrated, where you put your efforts in order to think and write and comprehend everything. But the other one is kind of background, is slow thinking. It is your intuition. It happens automatically. You just keep thinking about your favorite organic chemistry, which you can choose to be the third, just to read all the problem and understand what's about, but not focus on getting the right answer. Just read it and forget about it and like refocus and go to some mechanical problems, thermodynamics, because there would be a sequence of calculations from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5. Whether the other problem, like organics, it's usually, well, it's a scheme, you're right, but it we don't know how to proceed with that scheme because it is it's all mixed. So there are some steps, but you don't know from which point you should assess this problem, and this you can be thinking in the background, right? With some thermochemical problem, you just start from the first point and you go to the end. And even if you can not get an answer at some point, there will be given an alternative answer and you can continue from the middle, something like that. All right, now you know that you should differentiate between problems. For instance, quantitative like this one and qualitative like this one. Then you should differentiate between easy and difficult tasks. You will see how many points each task gives you, and I suggest you always start with some easy task like this one. But there is also a rule, because you might be mistaken. You think it's easy, but it might take more than an hour. So you should spend about 20 minutes on each task. Well, that you can vary depending on your solving skill, but you can see that there are 8 problems. So you will spend 1 hour on 3 problems, another hour on another 3 problems, and then you will probably spend just 3 hours on solving them, and that's a lot. So you need to well, if you would like to have a gold medal, you would need to solve all of them, but if you are targeting some bronze medal or silver, you must be really picky. Choose what you can solve, maximize the number of points. And that's why start with some very simple problem. Then go to some puzzling problem, load it into your brain, just spend some 10 minutes on understanding what's about, but then switch to some mechanical. Go through mechanical problems and maybe don't do them all at once, but then again go to some challenging problem like this anorganic problem. Definitely try your favorite kind of problem. Maybe you are really fond of biochemistry, so at some moment intentionally switch to biochemistry problem and then spend on that. Maybe if it's really your favorite, Don't start with that. Leave it as a bonus for yourself. Okay, always keep track of time. 25 minutes, it's not only solving one problem and then immediately turning to another. Give you time, give you a break. Like it should be 20 minutes plus some 5 minutes break when you can stretch your leg, hands, neck, everything. Maybe stand up and go out to the toilet where you can make push-ups just to start uh, to restart the flow of the flow of blood to your brain to start again thinking more actively. Have a snack, drink. So those 5 minutes you can have a lot of activities, physical activities, just to refocus your attention. And don't think that this is waste of time, because at the same time you remember that everything that you're solving in the background, like this inorganic and organic chemistry, it will be in your mind. You will be always thinking about that. So it's not that you are always writing with your hand, with your pen, but you must make breaks, and nevertheless your brain will be always active. Okay, you have a table like this, now you understand how it should look like, and again you will make a note so you can write that some A to C points are solved, but then D to E are not solved. Mark here, and of course you will be able to cross when it's done. Invent your own marks. Find out your own system, but definitely keep track of what kind of problems you have solved, what points are missing, and keep track of your time. Now, this is clear, this is very general. Let's go to some problem. In a separate video, I've explained you how to read problems. You should take a marker and then make some notes, what is important in that problem, what can help you. Luckily for you, this set is so straightforward. There is nothing surprising for you. All the topics are known from the prepared problems. And probably the most difficult was this problem number 5. Yeah, oh, yeah, it's okay. I will be back to this inorganic problem. Now, this plot might be a bit confusing, but what I've told in a separate video is that you should abstragate yourself. You should be thinking about, um, you know, general understandings. You translate whatever is written in the text into your own language of thought, and that will help you. Don't be confused with some new novel chemistry you have never heard about. Try to translate it into language of graphics, equations, simplified language, and then you can solve it more easily. Okay, now I'm going to problem number 5. That was the most differentiating problem, because you have some text and you have the numbers, and what you can do here is read this to make Egyptian blue. Oh, you're very, very lucky if you know what compound it is. For some reason, you have read some popular magazine and you know that. But if you are not, you would need to go further. One should hit 10 grams of mineral A with 21.7 CO2 and almost 9 grams of mineral B at some high temperature, right? For a prolonged time. So this prolonged time doesn't mean anything, it's not really important. But everything else you can rewrite into something like A plus CO2, silicium O2, and then you get B, and probably you will get something else because it's not shown here. You will definitely get something, because now in the next sentence you get it, that there are some liters of mixture of two gas products are released. The volume is measured, and then you get some numbers, and as a result, some pigment is obtained. Yeah, now I'm a bit confused. Is the pigment is B? Okay, two products released. No other products are formed. And the gas mixture is cooled. One component of the mixture condensed. That's probably water. And that you can write already H2O. with question mark. As the remaining gas is further cooled to the 0 degree, the gaseous volume reduced to. All right, so all these numbers we will need in order to calculate the amounts of our gaseous substances, and then by the difference, of course, we can get the amount of water and the amount of some gas. And now you know that we will be thinking what gas it is. So probably this is H2O, and what could be the gases? O2, N2, CO2. But if it's decomposition, then it's probably something like CO2. Well, NO2 is highly unlikely, or maybe CO. You can now invent your own row of gas, but this is what you will be thinking about while solving some other problems. And before you actually switch, you would need to do all these calculations. And again, let me stress, when you do calculations, especially those you know how to do, like the volume of gases turning into amounts of substances, um, your brain can think whatever, because this is a mechanistic. That's what now your hand is writing. Your brain can be thinking about the gases, etc. But this skill, of course, you need to train. It doesn't come automatically. Okay, I just reminded you that you should have a marker, and while you're reading, you should make notes. But you can also see on now my screen that I somehow make the text unreadable. So be very careful. I suggest you use some semi-transparent markers for that. So don't ruin your text so that you cannot read this after. Right. Here's an example of organic chemistry, and as you know, if you have a scheme with actually all the substances are shown here for some reason, but let me check what was asked here. Yeah, of course, we do have some ABC here. We can solve, maybe approach it from the beginning, but maybe the key to the problem will be this compound E, so you can know you can go backwards to A and B. And maybe the next key compound is this one, so you can go backwards here, or you should go forward from here. This kind of organic chemistry allows you to approach the problem from very different angles, and that you should do. So it's not always straightforward to go from the simplest, from the first compound. It's not necessarily simplest, but you should also try to attack the problem from different directions. That you should know when you solve a lot of organic chemistry problems. And that doesn't happen immediately that you know what is the key to that problem. So that's why, again, you should read the whole problem, like understand that this is probably actually the text that is not really needed, some introduction, but all the hints are given further. So you will be thinking, oh, A is the definite, this is definitely very important information, and that's also should be quite important. Labile in aqueous solution, so it's not isolated but rather reacted immediately with sodium tetrahydroborate to convert to D. Yes, so that's also an important hint here. Let's see further. Right. Overall, what I want you to do, just a short summary. Let's go back to here. First of all, when you get the set, separate the pages so that you have problem number 1, problem number 2, etc. to problem number 8 or 9. Then you should have enough space. So organize the space, put all the problems you are not solving aside, but put the problem you would like to focus on in front of you. Also separate the first page with logos. Also there should be some instructions, and the page with formulas. Separate them and put to another corner. However, write on the front page where you have most of the space numbers of the problem from 1 to 8 or 9. How many problems you have, that depends on the year. And then also mark something about them. That's organic biochemistry. That will allow you to very easy go through the problems and pick what you want. Also make some notes that you think that something is easy or it's your favorite topic, and also make a small plan in which order you would like to try to solve them. Also, well, I forgot to mention that if you know that there is some unfavorable topic which you don't know how to solve, maybe it's biochemistry, then also mark that you don't want intentionally touch that problem. That again depends whether you would like to have a gold or bronze medal, but anyway, you would like to try maximizing your points, so try to solve those problems that gives you points. Now, when you have done that task and you have written everything on the front page, then start reading problems very carefully with a marker. Mark all the keywords, mark all important information like numbers and the names of the substances. All the hints should be somehow marked. Why? Because if you solve the problem for 20 minutes and you understand that you cannot solve it, you will switch to another problem. When you come back, it will be much easier to you to remind yourself what this problem is about. And again, I'm showing you the very first page. So it could look like this. You have some hints on your front page. So when you're reading with all the markings, it will help you understand the problem. And while you're doing so, remind yourself that, okay, for some thermodynamics, you need the formulas which are given on the page with equations. And of course, you realize, oh, I need to use this first order kinetic equation or maybe Nernst equation for electrochemistry. So you make some connections to what you have in front of you, the page of equations and specific problems. And then spend some time on solving, and it will take definitely more than an hour. Try to limit yourself to 20 minutes for each problem. It does depend on your skills, so it could be 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, if you would like to solve only 4 or 5 problems, so you are maximizing the number of points you would like to gain, and you deliberately decide to solve only small number of problems. Okay, then you can spend like 30 minutes. But what I suggest is definitely do not spend more than half an hour. 20 to 30 minutes is okay to solving the problem. And even if you understand how to proceed with that problem, especially when you understand that it is an easy problem, then stop yourself, make a pause, switch to some other problem. Because when you will be kind of reaching the 4th, 5th hour, you will understand, okay, now I have tried everything I wanted, and I remember that there was some small straightforward problem, so I will go there and gain all the possible points. You see what I mean? Then don't forget that you will need to write the answer into the answer sheets. And in that sense, oh, I should show you the answer sheets. In that sense, please do remember that writing takes time. What I suggest is not drafting anything. Your draft is actually the page with the problems where you highlighting keywords, and there you can also make some small calculations. Your draft is your calculator where you put everything in and you calculate the final answer. You see some numbers on your screen. It's also your draft. But in the answer sheets, you just start writing all you think necessary right there. So basically, don't use any drafting paper, just write your answers into the answer sheets. And finally, try to allocate some time for yourself in order to go through all the problems and check all the solutions, recalculate everything. Well, you should remember that you're not punished for miscalculating something. And let me check if we have this trick here in thermodynamic problems. Just a second, you don't see what I'm doing, but I'm just scrolling. The result, yeah, I will switch so that you can see there are sometimes a trick. Yeah, so you see, let's say that you are solving here and you get to this point. You may need to use values for some constants to do this calculation. If you were unable to carry out the calculations in 3 to 1 and 3 to 2, you may use the arbitrary values of constants given. So you see, you can actually start solving the problem from here without any solving 3, 2, 1 and 3, 2, 2. That's really cool. You can do it deliberately. You can just start from this point, and you are not going to be punished by using those numbers. And if you have made a mistake somewhere here in calculating this value, and I will understand that this is just a misprint in your calculator, then I'll be able to appeal. I will go to arbitration and I will get points for you. But please ease my job, right? So that it's readable. Try not to make stupid mistakes like misprints or miscalculations. Okay? And for that, you should train solving many problems. Next, actually, I would like to know whether you have some habits when you like changing the number 8 and 9, or you somehow automatically write instead of A, you write letter C. Don't laugh because that happens. Some students will just don't know where is left and where is right, and they do some automatic errors. Now, about the answer sheets. Again, you don't need to write anything here. That is for those who are grading. But you must write something here. And of course, those tick answers, they require you to do some mental work. But if you don't really have time, at the very last moment, you have spent all 5 hours on solving some other problem, go through all answer sheets and tick something. Do not ever leave those empty. Yeah, that is something very specific for competitive chemistry. To get some points, you need to provide answer. And those tick points, they tick questions, they give you points even without, without solutions. So you must always tick all those. Right. Yeah, so here you need to assign. So it's kind of a lottery question. You just write some numbers here. If you didn't have time to understand and solve the problem, just write the numbers here. So do spend some time on reading the answer sheets, and even if you didn't solve the problem, try to write some answer here. Next, if you have written somewhere here, propose a suitable reagents for the formation of, I don't remember what they want here, but let's say that you've tried NH3, but then you realize that, oh, maybe it's NF3. So you can always do that, but even if you have used all the space and you understand, oh, I have made a mistake, what you can do, you can just draw another answer sheet here and continue writing here. NO2. Okay, use all the space given. Well, usually you are expected to write into the box, but if it's not enough, you can use all other space, and we will try to give you as much space as possible. Actually, we are usually giving about 1.5 times more space than is needed to write the answer. Okay, let's see what we also have here, which is atom AB. Yes. Your work, if it's written your work, definitely that means you would need to write some calculations here and then only here some answer. Oh, no, it cannot be 2, but it could be something like 0.05. Let's be. Yes, and be very careful with the numbers. Now this my address. You might write this in any way you want, so that even you yourself cannot read that. I not really, but you could. Here the last answer should be written so that I will understand that this is 5, not S and not 2, but this is definitely 5. Okay. So now take your hand and take your pen into the hand and make some effort to write it in a very clear way. Good. What else can we see in this answer sheet? That something requires a lot of writing and again a lot of calculations. Your work. what you should do at home right now is take some of those sets, print them out, and write all the answers. You don't need to solve the problems. You actually, as a training, you can take the solutions in front of you and just write the answers so that you feel how much time it takes writing and how much space it takes. And then focus on writing the final answer in the most clearer way possible. Whew. Number 5. Remember that you can also use the other side of the papers. Well, usually the graders don't spend time on that. They are also making copies of all your works because they are giving the copies to the mentors. And as a rule, they do it as much automatically as possible. They will never scan the opposite side of the page. So whatever is written there stays there. It is your draft. That's why, well, if you need to create an extra box, create it better here on top or just below. Even if it's not problem number 5, you can always write that this is problem number 3.2.1, and there where it was 3.2.1, you will write C page 19. And you, of course, you can write for answer, for solution. Yeah, and write it so that the grader will definitely see that. It's also not the greatest idea because each grader will take the page only for their problem. They will be given only their pages. But if you don't really have space, use some pages where you have space. But don't write on the other side. The other side is only for your drafting. Okay, for example, this problem, again, that required a lot of calculations, but those calculations are not really asked. Yeah, you need to calculate some. No? Oh, wait, it's, sorry, it's organic chemistry already. So let's see whether we were giving, oh yeah, so you do need to write your calculations, but probably you will also use the opposite side of your pages to make those calculations. My general advice is not drafting anything, just try write your solutions into the boxes immediately, directly. Whew. And I guess that is all. Right. Okay. So indeed, you will have a lot of pages and you must train your strategic way of solving them. Separate all the problems that you know where is number 1, number 2, number 3. Put them, with a shift so that you can immediately see that in your right corner you have all the problems and they are so place it so that you can see always the number of the problem, like this one. Oh, just a second. Like this one. So what I mean is that the next page will be on top like this, and you will be always able to see problem number 7, and then on top will be a set of pages with problem number problem number 8 is visible. Now problem number 7, problem number 6, etc. So just train the skill of organizing everything on your desk, on your table, so that you don't spend time on finding, oh, where is it, number 6, where is this problem, I really need to solve it right now. Be organized, save the time for solving. Yeah, actually, let me just repeat everything again. You get the set, you separate all the problems, you sort them, you put them on the desk, you start with the simplest problem. You do spend time on reading through the whole problem, making marks and highlighting things. Then you start solving the problem, but do not spend more than 20 to 30 minutes on that. Make pauses between the problems. And finally, allocate some time on writing. Remember that it takes time. Um, and also controlling all what you have written in the answer sheets. Also, while controlling, you just go through the all answer sheets, and if there are places in the problems you haven't solved, but you can basically tick something there, or draw or rearrange something, just do it to get the points. And with that all knowledge, I will finish this presentation. Train these skills, get some IChO set, and solve it this way. Like, not solve, but manage the solving process the way we just discussed. Good luck.